So for many years, power users who use iPad Pros and iPad Airs have been asking Apple to come out with an update to make their iPads a better multitasking machine. And for a while, Apple has been, adding this feature and that feature to make it a little bit closer to the Mac. But now with iPad OS 26, we have a proper multitasking system that takes the iPad to the next level. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you all about it. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's first talk about what everyone is really excited about, and that is the iPad's new multitasking system. So previously, if you wanted to do any kind of multitasking that wasn't, split screen and slide over, like multi-window multitasking, you had to either get an iPad Air or an iPad Pro because those models support Stage Manager. Now with every iPad that is getting the iPad OS 26 update, you get multi-window support with the Mac controls. So you have the menu bar, and you also have close, minimize, and maximize on the top left corner on the iPad, which is really great. And it's a welcome addition to make an iPad more of a workhorse machine. All right, so let's also talk about files. So files is getting an upgrade too. Now you can pin folders to the dock of your iPad just like you can on a MacBook. And when you click the folder, all the files in that folder expand just like on a Mac, which is really cool. And in addition to that, you also have a new PDF app, Preview. Yeah, Preview is coming to the iPad for the very first time. And it's really nice because in Preview for the iPad and also the iPhone, because it's also coming to the iPhone, you can, you know what? I got an iPhone with Preview installed. Hold on. So yeah, it's not just coming to the iPad, but it's coming to the iPhone. And this is an iPhone with iOS 26. So let me show you what that actually looks like. So look at this, Preview on the iPhone. So the nice thing about Preview on the iPad and iPhone is that you can actually use it to scan documents. So if you're in a classroom and you are taking notes, but you want to scan what's maybe on the board, you can do that, and it's really convenient and useful. And audio is now getting an upgrade too, because now you can select microphone inputs, which is something great for content creators who work on iPads. And now for the very first time, iPad users can take advantage of background tasks. So what is background tasks? So previously, if you were working in Final Cut Pro and you wanted to export a video, but you wanted to also minimize the app to go to Safari, you couldn't do that because the export would completely stop. But now with background task, you can actually minimize the app and go to Safari or whatever other app you want to go to, and just export the video that you're working on in the background and not have to worry about it stopping the export, which is really nice. And this is something that, the iPad crucially needed because, MacBooks could do that, my gaming computer can do that, so why can't an iPad with the same chip as an M4 MacBook Pro do that? It made no sense. So that's really nice that they're actually allowing background tasks in the iPad for the very first time. And also background task also applies to the iPhone as well. So if I'm downloading something from Safari or from any other app and I want to close that app, I can still export it in the background. Another thing that's coming to iPad OS is Liquid Glass, which is their new design aesthetic. Now, there has been a lot of backlash and also a lot of love for Liquid Glass. Like, some people either really like this new feature, like I personally like Liquid Glass, but then some people really hate it and say that it's really difficult. It makes reading text really hard. I haven't encountered that problem yet. So, but, I think that it's not going to take much for Apple to fix that problem. All they need to do is just reduce the transparency, and the problem is mostly fixed. And so yeah, that is iPad OS 26. All right, so now that iPad OS 26 is coming out, what iPad should you buy? So if you're on a budget, but you want to take notes for class and you're going to use the Magic Keyboard, And you're also going to take advantage of the new iPad OS 26 multitasking features, but you don't want to spend like a crazy amount of money. I would say go ahead and get the iPad A16 or maybe get an iPad 10th generation refurbished. If you get the A16 iPad with the Magic Keyboard, 128 gigabytes of storage, that is a little less than $600. And if you get the Logitech Combo Touch for the iPad A16 and 10th generation, that is going to be $508 when you factor in the price of the iPad and the keyboard. So if you want, the Apple keyboard is going to obviously be more expensive, but if you want to save some money and get the Logitech keyboard, $508. Now, if you want to do a little bit more, if you want a Stage Manager, and if you want some extra graphical power, I would say go for the iPad Air because that one is a little bit more capable, especially considering that it has a little more RAM, the M3 chip, and you can also get a 13-inch version of the iPad Air if you want more screen real estate. And if you are an artist, you should, well, it's no question, just get the iPad Pro. Although that's not the iPad that I would recommend for everybody. If you're an artist, you're probably going to want to take advantage of the tandem OLED display for maximum color accuracy. And if you like small tablets, there's no other choice in the Apple ecosystem. iPad mini is the way to go.